Hey guys, welcome back to Madison's Reading Corner. I'm Madison, and this is Lady, and today we are going to be talking to you all about writer's block and how to get out of some of those writing slumps. So in today's video we're going to be talking a lot about procrastination and writer's block and pushing past your insecurities to actually accomplish your goals. This video is primarily about writer's block, but this is very applicable to other aspects of life, including, posting videos on BookTube, something that I've been really bad at for the past, few months. I had all these big goals at the beginning of the year that I was going to post every week, and I planned out all these videos I was going to do, and then I got into this slump where I would film a video and I would edit it and be like, this is terrible, I'm not posting it. And my perfectionism kept me from actually going through and following through with my goals. But I'm here now and I'm here to work on it. So without further ado, let's get into it. I also am feeling a little bit lazy today, which, I know the irony is strong in this video. So I'm going to take a seat. You guys are going to get to see a slightly lower view of my bookshelf. And yeah, we're going to just have a little chat about writing and setting goals and, trying to follow through and get things done and addressing problems at the source so that they don't get worse and worse and worse. So today we're going to be talking a lot about writer's block, about setting goals, about addressing issues before they become a real issue, and just about, following through with the goals that you set for yourself so that you can, actually reach those goals and aspire to be what you want to be. So let's get into it. Kind of to kick things off, let me give you a little bit of a background on myself and some of my history with writer's block, because I am no stranger to it. In fact, it is something that I currently am dealing with. So I figured why not address that problem in a video, talk about some of the things that I've gleaned from experience, as well as some of the things I've learned looking online. But yeah, I just really wanted to delve into this topic because it's something that I really struggle with, that I'm trying to improve this year, and that I'm sure I'm not alone on. I think a lot of people could glean some information with as well. I've always pursued different writing projects, even, just things from as small as blog posts and writing short stories, novel writing. I tried my hand at playwriting when I was a kid, as in first grade, me and my best friend would call each other up and work on writing our epic fantasy play because, first graders are the best writers, of course. In case you were wondering, the book was called Return of the Dragon King. Anyway, but yeah, so I've always been really interested in writing. I've loved it my whole life. But the reality is that my ultimate goal is to be a published author. That is my dream. And, I can't let my pessimism and frustrations and insecurities keep me from trying to pursue something that I'm passionate about. But I've been engaged in a novel writing project for almost 2 years now. So I was in a young adult novel writing class my final semester at University of Utah, and it was amazing. It was the best class I ever had. I had an awesome writing partner. I had awesome peers. I had an amazing professor. It was the most I ever learned about novel writing throughout my whole experience there. And throughout the course of my 4-month semester, I was able to write over 180 pages of this young adult novel that I was working on. So it was amazing. It was super productive. I got so much done. And then after I graduated, I wasn't working with my writing partner anymore. I wasn't held accountable by my professor anymore to actively work on getting it published and finishing it. But, after graduation, I kind of slowed down on some of my writing, and then my husband and I moved to China for 4 months, which was an amazing experience, but we were much more busy than I had anticipated. I expected having all this leisurely time to sit in cafes and write, and but we were just so busy all of the time that when I did have downtime to write, I was writing in my journal about our experiences there. I was writing blog posts to share with friends and family. But yeah, so I got out of the habit of writing my book, and then came home from China after being there for 4.5, almost 5 months, and yeah, I had been out of the habit of it for so long that it was really hard to get back into writing my book. And so that was kind of difficult. And then, I kind of poked at it here and there, and I've just gone through phases over the past year of, various levels of motivation. And at this point, I'm tired of having that fluctuating motivation, and I want to actually stick with it and pursue it and finish my book, because I do feel like it's something important. I feel like it's something I can share with the world, something I feel good about. And even if it doesn't ever get published, so be it. I need to actually work on finishing it. So yeah, it's been a 2-year process of me starting this book and then not finishing it. So yeah, I have a lot of work to do, and I'm hoping that some of my tips help me and you guys to tackle some of your writer's block head on, and maybe help you guys to not get into a 2-year writing slump. So without further ado, let's talk more about that. I'm thinking that the best way to kind of address some of this, Winston, in case you didn't know, there's a puppy on my lap who loves to bite. So to start, I think it just would be best to split everything into categories of how to tackle everything. So the first tip I have is to address the problem. So figure out what your particular situation is, because writer's block comes in different forms, and depending on your situation, that is going to affect how you need to approach it. So for example, with my situation, where I've been in a bit of a writer's block thing for over a year of me not actively writing, of me being kind of in and out of it, getting frustrated. That's different than being in the middle of writing a scene and feeling oh no, I have writer's block. So something that helps me both on the long-term scale of oh, I've been in a rut for a long time, and also the problem of I'm in the middle of a scene and I'm struggling, is figuring out what the problem is exactly. Why have you stopped? What's kind of jarring you? In my case, for a lot of that, it's that I don't know where the scene is going next, or I'm worried about where the next scene is going to go. And I'm oh shoot, I don't know what I need to do next to make this all happen. So ask yourself if you need to sort out your plot, if you need to reanalyze your character's motivations, figure out what's missing, if you need to figure out what the next step is. For me, I found a lot of the time it helps to do to write out an arc of the story from what I have written, and then fine-tuning what I'm going to write. I've done this multiple times on the same story, just because as you write, a lot of the time your story changes and evolves, and that's fine. But when it changes, you need to figure out where you're going from there and how that affects some of the other aspects of your story. So I think that's a big part of it. So just address all of those problems that could be happening for you. And another thing that you should do is to take a break. If you aren't being productive, if you aren't able to write, figure out why that is, what it is that's wrong, but also take some time to separate yourself from it. And I don't mean in the way that I have done of taking a break for over a year. I mean, step away, get outside, getting a change of scenery can be really helpful. Another thing that you can do is to write something else. Write a different chapter of your story, write a backstory, write a side story, spin-off, find different ways to stay thoughtful with your novel that you're writing, but do so in a way that you aren't just hitting your head against a wall, like, because that isn't productive for you. It's not going to be productive in the long run, and it's just going to make you frustrated. And alternately, you could work on writing a completely different short story. For me, that isn't something that I like to do as much. A lot of writers are so good at that. Brandon Sanderson comes to mind when I think of that. Oh look, here's his shelf on my bookshelf. You know, he's amazing at balancing multiple stories and keeping all of those stories straight and sticking with each one and keeping all of his deadlines, and I think that's incredible. I wish I could do that, but for me, I need to kind of stay focused on one story at a time so I can give all of my attention and energy to those characters, to the story. It's up to you. If you're the kind of person, if you're a Brandon Sanderson, you can write whatever the heck you want. Make it work, do your own thing, but just know yourself. If you're like me and you're going to struggle balancing multiple stories, don't do it. Like, just write a side story, get some fresh air, change things up. And then be accountable. One of the biggest things that really helped me before was being accountable for myself. You know, I had to be accountable in my writing class, I had to be accountable to my writing partner, I had to be accountable to my professor. And so I was so productive during that time because it wasn't just me keeping up with myself. So find someone who you can be accountable to. Find people that you can write with. Find ways to like set alarms for yourself, set reminders. I know that there are a lot of different apps and reminder systems out there that can help you with that. I haven't explored that very much. If you have found something that works for you, please leave me a comment down below and let me know what's worked for you, because I would love to know what you guys do to be more accountable for yourself. There's something I saw that I really liked. I'm going to share it down below because I loved it. And I got a lot of ideas from it, but I loved the way that he worded things, so you guys should really see it. It's a website from Jacob Nordby, but he had a quote on this post that said, "Writer's block is just another name for fear." Yeah, and that's something that really stood out to me. It's very true, because a lot of the problems I've had in the past with writing has been due to the fact that I write and I'm doing things and I feel so good, and then something happens to kind of hurt my self-esteem, or like my anxiety gets worse, because I do suffer from anxiety, and so like I'll start experiencing more self-doubt. Winston. And so I don't write as often because I'm scared, because I'm nervous, and I'm scared and nervous that I'm writing for nothing. And that's not true. Like, even if I don't get published, my writing is important for me. So a lot of the things that I struggle with in that regard is that I suffer from anxiety and perfectionism. And I also have a problem of procrastination. I put things off, and then, you know, when I do put things off, it creates this cycle of anxiety and of perfectionism, because then I'm like, oh crap, I'm overcompensating for the fact that I haven't written enough, and what if it isn't good enough quality and I'm behind, and it just creates this negative cycle. You know, so some of the tips that they had on this site was to schedule out your writing time, which I think is really important. Because for me, I am busy in the mornings. I'm not going to have time to write in the mornings. I am not a morning person by any stretch of the imagination. You know, and I go to work, and I work at a job where I write all day. But it's not like writing things for myself. I'm writing, you know, websites for like mostly dentists. So I'm writing a lot of technical stuff and a lot of repetitive stuff. So I'm not like stretching that creative muscle to like to pursue my creative side. But yeah, so it's important for me to schedule out my time and say, okay, I'm going to write every night, you know, after dinner from this time to this time or something, or like on weekends I'm going to write in the afternoons after we have lunch or something. Like, find your time and figure out what works for you. If you are a morning person, more power to you. Like, get up at 5 a.m. if that's your thing. Like, wake up, do your thing, write your stuff. Anyways, that's kind of my long-winded rant / discussion about writer's block and about writing in general. Yeah, obviously it's not a complete list. It's not a perfect list. It's not going to work for everyone. But those are some of the things that have worked for me and that have worked for some other people online. But I would love to hear in the comments down below what some of your tips are. How have you guys gotten over writer's block in the past? Do you think that writer's block is a real thing? That's another discussion that often goes on online, is that people don't think that writer's block is real. I think it's a lot of your perspective. So I would love to hear what your perspective is, because I think it would be a really interesting conversation. So tell me, if you are a writer, what are some of your tips that you have for me about how I can tackle my writer's block in the future? I would love to hear that, because I'm in the process of trying to get back into writing, get back into BookTube, and just get back into doing the things that make me happy. So, you know, what makes you happy? How can I improve my process? I would love to hear that. Give me some tips down below, and I will see you next week, because I'm actually going to stick with this goal. Anyways, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate your guys' support, and I will see you next time. Bye.